Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the show, where we interview the nation's leading real estate entrepreneurs. It's your host, Stephen Schmidt, and I'm back at it again with another episode for you. We're going to be bringing a ton of value. I got a real operator in the studio today. I got Aneil Balkissoon in the house, and we're going to be talking about his experience in the real estate biz. He's been involved for over 20 years, has seen the dips, the highs, and everything in between. My man's flipped over 1,000 properties in his 20 years in the business and is an absolute expert. So much so, he's probably already forgotten more than most people will ever learn about real estate. So we'll get into it, and we're going to talk about his expertise and what's made him successful and what he has to share with all y'all that are maybe getting started, or maybe you're already established and looking to grow and scale. So just remember, before we get going, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their businesses in order to build the businesses they've always wanted so they can live the lives they've always dreamed of. That being said, Aneil, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, Stephen. Appreciate you having me on here.
You bet, man. I'm glad to get into our conversation. I know we had a little bit of chance to talk pre-show, but can you, for our listeners' sake, give us a little bit of background? What got you into real estate? I don't mean to, my granddad started getting salt and pepper hair in his 30s, but I mean, you got some white hairs on you, my brother. So, 20 years in the business, you know what I mean? It'll do it to you. But what got you into real estate? Where were you at in life at that point? What made you decide to jump all in head first?
Man, it like everybody else, freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have that hustle and that drive and the mentality. You're like, I'm not doing this. No, I think from 14 years old to 19 years old, I probably had like 20 jobs.
I get it, man. Me
I'm not
too.
doing this. Yeah, this is not going to be my thing.
Yeah.
So, really, I had a rich uncle. I wouldn't say he was rich. I had an uncle with a couple $100,000. And I went up to him and I said, hey, Unc, I can do this. Let's do this. Why don't you put up the money and let's flip a house, put up the money. I'll do all the work. And from there, we did one house. We made some money. We did 2 houses, but he only wanted to do one a year. I was like, man, I can't make $50,000 a year. That's not going to work for me. He only wants to do one a year. So I actually started putting out that house I did to other investors, say, hey, I can do this. I can definitely do this. I did it successfully here a couple times. And then I started looking out, finding partners, and I was doing 2 at a time, 3 at a time, 4 at a time, and now I'm at 20 plus at a time.
That's amazing. And believe it or not, folks, his book, Rich Unc, Poor Unc, is coming out soon. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Robert,
listen, I am going to write a book one day. Don't worry.
Robert, don't get mad at us. Robert's a friend. Mr. Kiyosaki's a friend, okay?
I came from a super poor background, brother. I mean, super poor. So I knew I wasn't going to live like my mom and dad. And I grew up in a super bad area where I actually sold drugs and I never used drugs. Thank God I did that saying where you don't use your own supply.
Right.
So, you know?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
And I got in trouble as a young kid. I got in trouble because I got busted doing that stuff, you know?
Sure.
And then it was a hustle game, you know, and it was always about money for me because I didn't want to be like my mom and dad. I didn't want to stand in those food lines because we stood in the food lines. We had, Christmas, those trucks came to our house and delivered gifts. I didn't want to do that, you know? I didn't want that in my life. I didn't want that for my kids in my life, you know? And at that time, I didn't have kids, obviously. You know, now I have 4, but I mean, I just didn't want that in my life, and I did bad things to make sure I could, I wouldn't say they're bad things. Selling drugs, selling weed and stuff like that, you know, back then was really bad, but, you know, it's to make money. I didn't, you know, I wasn't trying to hurt anybody. But I went to jail. God, I did a couple years over some stupid stuff, and I got out, and I was like, you know what? I'm never going to do that again. I'm just going to devote myself to real estate. And when I went through it.
That's really interesting. I'm glad we went deeper than just surface level here. And so tell me a little bit about that. You're coming out of jail. Is that like when you went to your uncle and were like, "Hey, we got to do this thing. I've learned about this deal. Obviously, you know I'm good at out hustling. I was able to wholesale some of this other stuff that wasn't legal. Let me go and flip some of this other product." Is that how that conversation went down?
Yeah, when I was in jail, I mean, I wrote down all kinds of things, like how to make money, how to do this, how to do it legally, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, I just kept studying and studying. I was like, man, real estate, that's just where it's at. Real estate, real estate, real estate. And I came out of jail and I told my uncle, I said, listen, you know, I can't get a job. I don't want a job, first of all. I was always an entrepreneur, by the way, because like I said, before I went to jail, I used to have a cell phone company. I had a couple different businesses. This is a way longer, deeper conversation on my life.
For another day.
You know, but when I did come out of jail, though, prior to that, I had a cell phone company, and that's another conversation. But when I did go to jail, I got out and I said, you know, I don't have that much money, and I talked to my mom, and it was my mom's sister's husband, so. And then I talked to them, and I just told them, you know, I can do this. I have the connection. I knew a lot of people outside that worked on houses and stuff. So I said, I can do this, you know. I mean, let's go to the courthouse steps and buy a house cash. And back then, they were only $70,000, $80,000 to buy a house cash, and which is back then it's nothing, you know. It was a lot of money, but now it's nothing. You can't do anything with $70,000, $80,000 to buy a house, unless you're in the Midwest. Yeah. I'm over here in Tampa, Florida area, so our houses are, you know, $300,000 plus to get into a, you know, a fixer-upper. But anyways, I just talked to him, and I told him, you know, I said, you know, we can really do this. You know, I can do this. I promise you. And he took a chance on me, you know, and like I said, he took a chance, and it was successful. And that was in the 2005s, you know, and he kept doing it till 2008. But at that time, I had enough money of my own where I was doing $1 million deals, you know, at that time. And then the market crashed. I lost my money. I had to go into a different business for a little while. I actually went to the worst business in the world, a car lot business where everybody thinks you're a crook. Yeah. It was bad. I hated it. I did it for a couple years, saved $150,000, $200,000, and I dumped it right back in real estate, and here I am again. So, you know, but I lost all my money in 2008.
No kidding. So you were one of the ones that got bit. Tell us a little bit about that experience, if it's not too traumatizing for you.
I actually bought a 16-unit condo complex. They were doing, over here in Florida, they were doing some condo conversion stuff. So we were taking apartment buildings and making them into condo complexes over here in the Florida area. And I had put down one $1.6 million on a 16-unit condo complex, an apartment building.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And the market crashed.
Of your own money.
All my cash. Cash.
No.
The market crashed, and then I kept it going. I was in the middle of rehabbing stuff, and I was making those mortgage payments. My mortgage payments back then at that time, I had 36 rentals in South St. Pete, and then I had this apartment building that I was turning into a condo complex. Everything went away. Nobody could pay their rent. All my foreclosures happened in South St. Pete because nobody was paying their rents. I kept it going for 6 months, and then I was like, this is crazy. No, I can't keep paying all these bills. There were like 50 grand a month in mortgage payments. I was like, I have to take my money and I got to put it into something else, and that's when I put it into the car business, And I bought a property on a major intersection. So I did really well for a couple of years. And then, like I said, it was just a horrible business because everybody thought you were a crook. You're selling used cars and it breaks. Oh, you robbed me. I felt like a piece of shit. So, can I curse on here?
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, man, I was a finance manager at a couple car dealerships in Jacksonville, actually. And to your entire point, man, and it's like the type of stuff we were selling to and who we were selling it to. Like, man, I think I finally drew the line after like 2 or 3 times where I'm like, there's no possible way that we don't get shot up in the middle of the afternoon. Like,
yeah,
there's exactly. Just like I got a new baby. I got to get out of this business as quickly as possible. So,
yeah,
to your point, I completely understand where you're coming from. Very similar experience. And, it is what it is. It doesn't mean that all of them are bad. It's just like, that's the downside of selling something you can't control what happens to it. You can sell a car that you think is the best car in the world and the thing breaks on you. You know what I mean? Best one I ever sold, I bought from somebody for $500 and I resold it for $5,000 with a check engine light, and I never heard from him again. And it's like, you know what I mean? Yep. And then the $30,000 car with nothing, then the engine goes out, and you're like, you gotta be shitting
right?
me. You know what I mean? So I totally get it. I totally get it. So walk us through, because for somebody to go through that, and obviously, like, man, an apartment complex, 30 plus units, you lose everything. And you still got back up, dusted yourself off, and went back in it after kind of rebuilding a little bit. What was that like mentally getting restarted, and how did you turn that back into being even more successful than you were?
Experience, not only experience, experience of life, hardships of life. Like I said, coming from a background where you're super poor and having to stand in food lines and those things, and having to become a hustler to make sure that it was crazy. My brother had 2 jobs, and he would give 1 paycheck to my mom, just to support us, so, and he was 16, he was 15 giving it. And then he got me a job, and he was giving my mom, he took 2 jobs just to give my mom to help, because my dad was just an alcoholic drunk. He didn't care about, he was happy to tell us, hey, go. Oh, by the way, yes. So when I was earlier, 14, 15, broke into cars, he's like, yeah, what'd you go steal something? I'm like, really? Your dad's telling you go steal something? It's crazy. But I mean, it's really experience, man. It really is. It's a hardship of your life that puts that drive back in you. And I don't want to go there. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to live that life, And that's really what I think it was mentally, for me. And everybody's going to have a different experience, but, that gave me the drive to push forward and keep going, And I knew I made it once, and my mentality was, I made it once, I can do this again. That's not an issue. It was more the market and me being stupid and putting all my money in one place.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
And having everything out and having no rock solid foundation of money behind me, you know?
Sure.
So I over leveraged. That's the
Yeah.
word of over leveraging, you
And
know? And
going
that's what it
back
was.
into it, confidence and having that confidence, it ultimately comes from it comes from the memory of your past wins, right?
Absolutely. It comes from the remembrance of my past wins, and I knew I could do it again. If you did it once, you can do it again. That's all there is to it.
So we're obviously, almost 20 years post the crash, right? Like, interestingly enough, you've had way more time since then, since the big one, at least in, our lifetime so far. And I mean, you kind of had COVID, which was a little bit weird, but that wasn't so much a crash, more like a boom. And especially in Florida, man, it was nuts out there. I moved literally a year and a half.
We were killing it.
Oh yeah, trust me, I was. Yeah,
we were killing it over here.
I know, I believe it.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis. We love you.
I love it. So you've obviously spent more time post that. What's been the big lesson that you've gleaned in the last 15 years or so since the crash and you got back in it?
So I still make mistakes onto this day, just like before. I mean, I learned something. I really do. I learned something new from even new people that I come into. I'm a huge networker, and there's a lot of younger people beside that I've met, and they're doing great things because they have all these new tools that we didn't have, like AI. Like, they're using AI for finding houses. Is insane, So what I've learned, really, knowledge and networking is your key to everything. It's who you know and the room you're in. I understand you guys have a mastermind group, which is great thing to be a part of, But I'm gonna say that one of the biggest things, like now, like today, like I was saying, I make mistakes still. I'll tell you, it doesn't matter to me because I made, in COVID time, the last couple years, is over $3 million a year I was doing. That was what I was netting. you know. But here it is, a couple years after that, COVID's gone. I have a lot of money out of my pocket right now, right? And you never think that that's going to end, I didn't put myself in a position where 2008 happened, I had to go in a car lot business, but I put myself in a position where I had all my capital out and I can run my business still, but there's no extra meat on the bone for me. So I have to make sure I have to change up. Now I'm like, okay, I made a mistake. I didn't have any cash flow coming in like that, because now nothing's selling. I've got 8 properties right now up for sale. They're not even moving in Florida right now. I'm like, good Lord. I had a contract for $480 last year on this one house, and I said, no, hell no, this house worth $550. I just signed a contract on it today for $380. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I still made money. Don't get me wrong. I did make money off of it, but I should have sold it for $480, right? But and that's the thing. I still learn from mistakes. Like now I know cash flow, I should have some cash flow going because I do a lot more new construction now. And I said, okay. And one of my partners was in Airbnbs and we did very well. We were doing $140,000 a year on this particular property. So I was like, you know what? I need to turn some of these properties into Airbnbs and buy more and have at least 10 of them going and keep that in my portfolio at all times. So that way I don't have a problem. So I'm learning still till this day. And that's the thing. Keep learning and keep experiencing, because that's what's going to teach you, and that's really what's going to teach you in life. So,
Yeah. Keep learning, keep experiencing. That's really great points. How important, especially in the real estate business, like you mentioned, like being in rooms, mentors, etc. How important was that to you in the beginning to shorten your learning curve?
so I never took mentors on.
Interesting.
I've done this all myself. I truly have. And you know what? I should have took mentors on. I really should have. I would have got there a lot faster. But, and on the other flip note too, I would have never learned what I learned. And for me, hard lessons hurt me. And that's how I learned, you know. But that being said, my old younger self should have had mentors regardless. And I would have got there a lot faster. You know, like I was telling you earlier, I was doing a mentorship thing too. But for me, I was doing hands-on. It was a little different for me. So it's hard to teach people hands-on. You're going in and showing them how to do things when everybody has a different opinion. They think they can do it better than you can, which I'm the guy that's done 1,000 flips and you haven't.
Right.
But and so I just and that's the best thing too. And I've looked at a lot of different mentorship groups, and they all screen you saying if you're trainable or not. And that's really the truth. Can you listen? Can you act on what somebody's telling you to do? If you're going to take a mentor, and you really should. You should listen to that person if they're experienced enough. But you got to make sure it's the right mentor, and you need to see their credentials, because there's a lot of people out here that say they do what they do and they can't back it up. You know. So, but mentorship is so important. It really is. If you want to, we're only here one time. Might as well get there faster, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree with you on that. And I think, as far as the mentee relationship goes, too, something to also note to even add on to what you said there, if you're going to be one of those people that does take the time of someone, and, there's all different types of relationships. It might be paid, it might be free, right? But if you're going to ask for advice, then you should be willing to act on the advice and then follow up on the result that you got from the advice you got, because that's
Yeah.
almost what earns the next piece of advice.
Yeah.
I
I
think
couldn't agree more.
even in my own life, and I'm sure you've seen this even with people that you've worked with, like you'll tell somebody to go do something and they come back to you 2 months later and ask for something else. It's like, okay, cool, well, how'd the other thing go? And they're like, oh, I didn't do that. It's like, well, then
Yeah.
why you're just becoming
Yeah.
an asshole at this
Yeah.
point. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Like, come on,
I
man.
like the word.
Like,
Yep. I mean, I'll tell you how to do it. I mean, you see, I do it.
right.
Just, don't reinvent the wheel. And, that's the truest saying. It's crazy. I've learned by having a few dozen of students of my own and what it was like. But, in that business model, I made a huge mistake where I actually, like I said, I hands-on personally, one by one, held their hand going through the flip, and everybody, they had their own decisions and their own opinions, and then if they don't listen to you, they still blame you, which is crazy. So I'm like, well, you didn't listen to anything I told you. And and that's the problem, with that part of it. It's just like you said, being an asshole. So, but thank God all of them made money. So nobody can say bad I cost them any money.
There you go. That's the important piece, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so let me ask you this, Aneil. I mean, there's people that go out, they do 10 to 15 flips a year. They're happy as a clam. They go to Italy once every now and then. They take family vacations and they live what their version of a good life is. And even across doing that for 40 years, they don't even touch 60% of the properties you flipped just in the last 20, right? So what is like the end game for you now? Are you focused on still like accumulating and building, or are you focused more on trying to find quality of life and enjoying the time you have?
So I got 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Divorced dad, have the kids 70% of the time.
Wow.
So yeah. So my life ends at 2 o'clock. Because from 2 o'clock on, I have to pick up 4 kids from school.
Sure.
So I shut down at 2 o'clock, and my day's over with. Um, I'm 50 years old. I'll be 50 in December. And I don't think I'll ever retire, honestly, because it's not work for me. You
Mm.
know, it's not work for me. And what I'm doing is I'm building something for my children. I'm not going to hand it over to them because I don't believe in that. Just here you go, here's $50 million. I don't believe in that. They're going to work for that and use it for real estate, honestly, because that's what's in my trust. If you can't use it for real estate in my wills, you can't use it. Go figure out your own thing, you
Mm.
know? So my kids are my drive, that's who drive me. And like I said, I'll probably do this till I'm 100 years old. I go and come when I please because I can financially do that. I take vacations when I want. I don't even call it vacations. I go whenever I want.
You go on
Every other
trips.
weekend. Yeah, it does. Yeah, so it
Yeah.
does.
That's
It
like when
doesn't
you know
even
you've made
matter.
it is you don't go on vacations anymore. You go on trips.
Yep, yep, exactly. So it really, to me, it all depends on your mentality and what you feel like. I talk to a lot of people, and they can live on $250,000 a year, and I tell them just go buy a couple Airbnbs, and you can live your life. So it really, I interview a lot of people, and when I talk to them when they want to partner with me, because I do a lot of partnerships with different people, and a lot of people, obviously raising capital is a big thing. So they want to invest with me also. And I talk to them, say, hey, what do you want to do? How do you want to live? How much money do you need to live every year? What do you want out of life? And most people just want to get out of their jobs and make a few $100,000 a year. And I direct them into two or three Airbnbs and say, this will be your life. And that's all you got to do. You only got to come up with a couple $100,000 to get into this. And it's a lot easier than you think, via wholesaling, doing a few building up that, partnerships, different things to get you a couple 100,000 to get into your Airbnbs. So for me, it's a whole different ballgame. I'm good now. I have lots of assets, and I'm building houses more than anything now. I've actually slowed down my flips because I'm just tired of flips. I'm doing so long, and I got my GC license, and I'm a builder now. So just started a new builder, so I'm not good yet. So I'm learning a whole new trade. It's way different from flipping houses.
Which is really interesting. A consistent theme throughout your story, even with all the different evolutions, is you're always like breaking new ground on things to like expand on your own. Um,
Yeah.
I would even look at it as kind of the way that you expand your own personal development almost.
No, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Absolutely. I like
So,
that.
so with
So,
with the building, what's because that's a whole again like that's a whole other playing field, right? You've got people that
yes,
are doing flex.
way different.
So like what's the goal with that now with your building company?
Same goal as always, making money, putting it
Right.
away for the kids.
Yeah, but that's
Say,
potpourri. That's potpourri. Let's be specific.
you,
That's what Chris Crone would
you,
say. He'd be like, "That's a potpourri thing." What does that mean? 100 million or 500,000? Because both of those are money.
yeah. For me, um, it's new. It's different. I've never been a builder. For me, it's new. It's different. Um, I've got I've got almost a dozen builds going on right now, and I just started building houses within the last 2 years.
Right.
So I don't go slow, and I own 15 pieces of land which I'm going to build on. Instead of buying flips now, I've been buying land. And I bring partners in to buy land and stuff, and then we'll get hard money loans on them and build on them. You know. So my goal is really, honestly, I want to build developments. I want to build like, you know, who do you have out there? Well, a big builder. We have a whole bunch of them here. D.R. Hortons. Well, I'm
Right.
sure you guys got those too, right?
I don't really even pay attention out here, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. I
So
know more of
yeah,
it out in
so
Florida than I do in Kansas.
I like to build small subdivisions, really, and make it a lot easier to make money than doing flips because flips are a headache. That's all there is to it, but it's great money. Flips are a headache, and that's where I came from, and it make great money, but building houses is a different headache, but don't have to deal with all those guys that don't want to work. We just have these trades, trades, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and when you find the right guys and the right crews, we have quite a few. There's honestly you're in where, Kentucky, you said?
Kansas.
Kansas.
Yep.
How's your Spanish population out there?
High.
So we have a lot of Spanish here that we're doing too. We're actually
Right.
we use those guys a lot because they work.
Yeah.
They work. So,
It's the one thing I
but
can't
really,
stand about Florida, man, is like there's no good Mexican food. It's all Cuban food. Like out here in Kansas, man, we get that overflow from Tejas. I'm telling you what,
Yeah.
man, you can go down the street and get some good tacos. When I lived in Florida for 3 years, it was like, man, I could only find Cuban food out here. That's my
Yeah.
one. That's my one. My one frustration is Cuban. Like I could only get Cuban food. I couldn't get good barbecue, and I could no good barbecue, and I couldn't get good actual Mexican food.
Did you come to the Tampa area?
I did, yeah. I was East Coast for the most part, though. Jacksonville and then Melbourne. But
All right,
I have
'cause
friends over in Odessa.
We're
And,
super diverse over here in Tampa.
are you? We
Yeah.
might end up in Sarasota. Like, our long-term goal is to get back there. Like, we're kind of in a rebuilding phase and then raising kids. I got two. Yeah, I have four myself, two under
Yeah.
3. So we're
Okay.
we're like in that like, okay, let's get everybody walking and talking, and then let's get back out there. So. That's
cool.
We may end up back out in the Sarasota area.
Well, when you come to Sarasota, it's only an hour away from me. I got properties about 10 miles away from Sarasota. I'm building 2 houses out there right now.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah. So I work, I work a good 60-mile radius from me where I want to travel.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, but I mean, really, like I said, it's a different thing for me. I've been doing flips all the time, and it's a
Right.
it's a great way to make money,
Sure.
And that's all. And it's something I've never done, and I've always said, you know what? One day I'm going to be a builder. Here I am. I'm a builder. I'm a GC.
You bet.
So, and I don't work for anybody because people always like, hey, can you go put an addition on? No, I build for myself to make money.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't help you.
Right. I love it, man.
But you can. No, I can't.
Aneil, if people want to connect with you for more, where should they go for that? Where can they connect with you for more, learn what you're working on, all that good stuff?
So they can call me directly on my cell. I talk to everybody personally. I have my websites and stuff like that, my realestatecollege.com, but like I said, I'm not really mentoring anymore. I will do deals with people, but obviously they can reach me on my cell anytime, which is 727-710-7333. I don't have a problem giving out my cell phone. I can spot somebody that's trying to hustle me, or if they're a real investor any day, So, yeah, that's really, like I said, I do partnerships all the time with people. They want to invest their money. They get 10 to 15% return on their investment, So just like the typical when you're raising capital, you gotta pay, to grow your business. That's all there is to it. So once again, you could reach me at 727-710-7333. So my name's Aneil. Easy to look me up. You can go on my Facebook and look me up. You can see what I do every day in Aneil Balkissoon. Find me on Facebook. That's a great way of finding me too.
There you go, folks. Well, go drop them some love from the Investor Fuel family and the Real Estate Pros. And hope you got as much value out of this conversation as I did. We'll see y'all in the next episode. Thanks again for being here, Aneil. Appreciate it a ton.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.